This is Rudkowski of WeAreChange.org here in Rio de Janeiro. We are outside the headquarters of Petrobras, the government-run corporation that has been in the middle of all the scandals and, of course, the corruption that's dealing here with the impeachment of the president of Brazil. Now, to understand this situation better, we have Edson here, who's one of the leading thinkers and philosophers behind the libertarian movement in Brazil. And to understand just a little bit of what's happening here in Brazil, we have to start at Petrobras. Now, what I've heard with Petrobras is that it's a government-run corporation that controls pretty much the oil and gas here. And even with the low oil and gas prices globally, they still haven't lowered those prices here. And they're ripe with a lot of corruption that's leading to the impeachment of this president. But ultimately, what is Petrobras and what are they dealing with right now?
Actually, Petrobras is the national government oil company, and they actually regulate all the monopoly of the oil thing. So everything started a few years ago, and there was a legislation which is determining and per everyday enterprises you run against Petrobras in the oil market. So they try to regulate all the market systems and the legal system just for Petrobras. And Petrobras will use it by all the politicians that were behind the Dilma Rousseff government.
Now, what is the corruption? What happened here with Petrobras, with the government?
Well, with the regulation, it started a few points and just ended up the market for every other enterprises and just use it for Petrobras to gain the monopoly of the system. And how the system of monopoly was ruined by the politicians there and the same party as Dilma Rousseff. It came attention for the federal police here, and that's how they came all these investigation things, and they just came for one single point, the PT, the Trabalhadores Party, which is the same party of the president of Brazil.
Now, we've been hearing that there's been a lot of corruption, a lot of money underneath the table, a lot of public money that was supposed to go towards projects, going towards the politicians' pockets, of course, robbing everyone blind because the government has complete control of it. How do you see it, and how do you see it unfolding?
Well, we pay a lot of taxes here. Brazil one is the countries there's a lot of tax in South America, and basically most part of these taxes goes to the government enterprises and the government legal systems here. We have a huge state in Brazil, one of the biggest in Latin America. I think not even far of it is happening in Venezuela, but if we won't take about what's happening here in Brazil, we can become a Venezuela as soon.
Yeah, the economic situation here is not good at all. As you can see, the homeless person just behind us, it is filled here in Rio de Janeiro with a lot of poverty and also a lot of public funds being spent on the Olympics. A lot of money was spent on the World Cup here, of course, just thrown away. And a lot of the politicians were caught with most of the money in their pockets instead of the projects that they said that they would build here. Now, what's going to happen with Petrobras? Because many people are saying this company is going to go bankrupt. Many people are saying this country is going to financially feel the effects of that. Some people are saying that Petrobras should be privatized and not be a public institution. What do you think is going to happen? Because right now the president who is going to be impeached, Dilma, wants to keep this company a government company. The opposition wants to privatize it. What's going to happen?
Actually, in my opinion, to privatize Petrobras is not even a thing have to be considered because it's already bankrupt. So we have to extinct Petrobras. We have to literally implode Petrobras to open the market from all of the companies all over the world, worldwide, to invest on the oil company in Brazil. If you have a company that runs for oil market, you have to put in Brazil and implode Petrobras.
Now, what's going to be the effects of that since Petrobras is so interconnected with the government?
Actually, first, we make the direct link with the government thing about Petrobras. So once the Petrobras is over, the corruption and a single party, which is PT, with the same of the president, we're gonna over it for now. But there's a problem. The Brazilian society wants more state to doing that. We don't want to make the individual freedom and the free market principles to went out. So we ask for more government, and there is a problem. Once we end the corruption in one single party, we need to create another situation, an alternative to resolve this problem market. We have to open the market to end all these things.
Yeah, like you said before, the people in Brazil here hate the politicians, but they love the state, which is a very conflicting view and obviously causes a lot of conflict because the vice president of Dilma would actually take charge when she's impeached, and he is more of a right-wing person interconnected with Goldman Sachs, who wants to make Goldman Sachs pretty much the finance minister here in this country, which leads to a lot of rumors and speculation that this whole kind of impeachment movement, starting off with Petrobras against this government, against this president, is kind of a coup d'etat. So many people are saying because Dilma, the current president, was actually arresting people for corruption, that Dilma, who actually was implementing kind of liberal leftist policies here. She was targeted by the State Department, which the opposition is in connection here with, and they are going after her because she was doing that. And it's mainly the past president, Lula, who was involved with Petrobras, and that there's not a lot of dirt with Dilma, with Petrobras. But of course, Dilma is protecting Lula, and she put him in her cabinet so he can't be prosecuted. But now there's the big impeachment thing. That's how some people are seeing it, as a kind of coup d'etat against this president. How do you see it, and can you give us a history of this president's past, Dilma, who has been kind of a revolutionary, who has been tortured and also did some other acts?
So there's one thing people have in mind. Brazil never were a safe place. During the 70s and the middle of the 60s, there was a military regime here, and a lot of things happened. And Dilma, he was trained in Cuba and in Russian to run against the military. She are a socialist and a communist thing, so he did a lot of terrorist attack against the military bases amongst every people in society, even banks or regular people. He used to walk nearby the same situation that she made some terrorist attacks. So there was the past of her and Lula. They were friends at the time, and they created a party which he has the principally the politicians and the Senate and the government. So there is the past of her party.
Yeah, you said that she was guilty of killing 3 police officers. Is that true?
Yeah, she was guilty to kill 3 or 4 military officers in the middle of the 60s. She had a brigade, socialist brigade, which were called AR7, which is in Portuguese called the Movement for October Revolutionary Socialist Movement. So she killed a few officers in the military, and that's how it is. That's what happens when you have a terrorist running for a government.
And then she was also tortured by the police state, the martial law that was set up here in Brazil during the 60s and 70s. And now she's president, and now with the whole scandal with Petrobras, the future of this country is unknown, but obviously a lot of important moves are being made here. Where do you see everything going in the near future? Because economically, Brazil is not in good shape in any way. And also politically, with the impeachment, with this new guy coming in, how do you see Brazil in the next few years?
Actually, there isn't. There is an alternative, actually. The only alternative that we has is to open the market and transform Brazil in a free country, to invest, to create some alternatives for the free market. That's how we can change Brazil now. We can create a society without the politicians depending. We can create a society without the buildings and the corporation of the state depending. We have to create a free society, and to do that we have to create a free mentality of can be created amongst all of us. So right now the alternative they're imposing to us is to ask for more state. So what I think has to happen is to end all of this thing and create an individualism thing and individualist all of the places all over Brazil.
Edson, thank you so much. And of course, you're doing that with a lot of important people here. Where can people find out more information about you?
Well, you can also ask for Grupo de Estudos Dragão do Mar, Instituto Liberal do Nordeste e o Instituto Mises Brasil.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, that's a lot of institutions in Brazil. Then we fight for liberty and free market.
The links will be in the description below, and obviously with the uncertain situation here in Brazil with the Olympics coming up, anything could happen, but it looks like Brazil is headed for a worser future than it is right now, and the solutions are actually going to be a lot of the same problems that are continuing here in this beautiful, amazing country. Stay tuned, subscribe, we're going to have a lot more information coming here your way on youtube.com/wearechange.